Hi, I'm Madeline Silva, and I want to walk you through this case study of one of my recent VIP clients where we took a clinic from the brink of bankruptcy to an estimated 1.2 million in net profits over 12 weeks. So often I get asked, how in the world do you do what you do? How can you guarantee to add a minimum of 6 figures in net profits to a clinic in 12 weeks? And so I wanted to give you the opportunity to come behind the scenes with me in this last project where I walk you through exactly how we get these kind of results in such a short amount of time. So my client, Dr. Vinay Parameswara, is a medical doctor here in Austin, and he has, some great credentials, right? He's a doctorate degree in molecular biology, medical doctorate in internal medicine, diplomat of American Board of Obesity Medicine, and he has a master's in public health. So like so many of my doctors that I work with, he is an amazing doctor and cares deeply about his patients. So one of the most rewarding part of my job, and really what makes me get up in the morning, is to partner with doctors and really help them to connect with the people that can help the most and make the kind of impact that they dreamed of when they first opened their practice. Our healthcare system here in the US is so broken, and partnering with doctors in this fashion and really helping them to be more profitable, reach more people, and have turnkey practices where they really deliver phenomenal results for their patients allows us to really transform healthcare in a really impactful way from the inside out. And that's really what turns me on what I do and why I'm so passionate about working with holistic doctors. The more wealth we can pack into the holistic healthcare sector, the more change we can see on policymakers and shifting the trend of allopathic medicine over to more holistic healthcare. So that's really what this is all about. It's really exciting to me to help these doctors reach more people and have a bigger impact. So the very first step is the deep dive assessment. This is where we really look at what's working, what's not working, where are the bottlenecks, what is the capacity blocks, where are the profit centers, where are we leaking money, and who is on the team, and who are stars on the team, who are the people who might be a little rocky, what are some of the changes we need to make, and really looking at all of these pieces together. And we usually do that in a VIP day. So I like to take you and your team out of your day-to-day grind of running the clinic and have you come to my home. This is my home where we had the VIP day, and bring your whole team so that we can do a real deep dive assessment of your clinic. Every single one on your team has a different perspective. And this is an opportunity for us to come together and share what we are seeing, what we are noticing, and what's working, what's not working, and also really build a strong team culture. Oftentimes when I step into these clinics, the team is a little bit unmotivated and maybe a little bit unhinged, and there may even be some friction or uncomfortableness in the team. And the VIP day really acts as a reset button for that team, where everybody kind of gets back together on the same page, and people leave, the whole team leaves feeling excited and motivated and empowered and really looking forward to the changes that is about to happen. So that's really what the VIP day is for. And I also do my best to make sure that it's a really luxurious and fun event for you and your team. So I bring in Patricia, who is a personal chef here in Austin, and she makes snacks and lunches for us that's super nutritious, super healthy, and just makes us feel really taken care of. And so that's really important as well. And here's some good little notes that they gave us about what a memorable and exciting day it was. And like I said, we really look at every team member has a different perspective, right? Depending on the experience, how they see your practice. Most of the time as a healthcare provider, you're probably in the back taking care of patients while your team runs the show or run the front. And you don't always see your business from all the different angles, but your team does. And so I really like to pull that out and find out, what are they noticing? from their perspective, from their viewpoint, from their vantage point where they're at. We also look at capacity blocks. So if you look at other businesses, other 7-figure plus businesses out in the world, or successful businesses, for the most part, the CEO of that business is not the person who is delivering the day-to-day promise of that business. But in most healthcare practices, the doctor or the clinic owner is responsible for the day-to-day delivery of the promise. So sometimes I would say it's very common to see the clinic owner and the doctor becoming the capacity block of their own business without necessarily noticing it. So that's a common capacity blocks. And of course, there's other ones as well. And so we look at all of these ways that your practice really can't grow past a certain point, simply because the building blocks aren't there. So once we start removing some of those capacity blocks, your business can grow again. And you may have made a mistake where you're investing heavily in marketing because you want to grow your business, but it's just not growing organically. So you're investing heavily into different marketing strategies and you're still not growing. A lot of times that happens because it's not really a marketing issue. It's the fact that you have capacity blocks in your business that makes it impossible for you to grow. So we look at that first. Then we look at what are the top profit centers in your business currently? Where's the money coming from and how is it arriving into your business? And then we tweak that and we turn up the volume, making sure that we're really maximizing those profit centers for you. We also look at freeing up your time. Like I said, so often clinic owners are the glue of the clinic and responsible for the day-to-day delivery of services. And we'll look at how do we really free up your time. So I have a process that calls Flip the Freedom Switch on your schedule. And I walk the doctors through it. I walk your team members through it as needed. And it really helps us to become aware of how we're spending our time and where we are wasting time, and to be more resourceful, more productive, and really moving the needle on the stuff that really matters. It's so easy to just get busy and but really just busy putting out fires where you're not really making progress. You're just kind of wasting your time. Once we've done the deep dive assessment, then I put together a 1-page profit growth plan that really helps us pinpoint exactly the changes and the transformation that we want to see in the practice over the next 12 weeks. So the 1-page growth plan is worked on the vision, the goals, and the values. Those are the most important pieces. That's my compass. Anytime I work with a client, I really spend a lot of time finding out exactly what their vision is, what their goals are, and what their values are, so that we build the business around the things that matters most to the clinic owner. Because I see a lot out in the world that people are building businesses that are not based on their vision, goals, or values. And so in the end, they might have a very successful business, but it's not a business that I feel happy about. And so we spend time unpacking what you actually want it to look like. And then we look at your financials, how you deliver your services, who your team members are, and how to market those services. And we figure out what needs to happen in each one of those 4 key areas. And after that, we look at the key metrics. So what is the key metrics that we need to track to make sure that we actually making sure that the vision, goals, and values that we want to see happen in the business is taking place. So this is Dr. Vinay's 1-page profit growth plan. And he has a huge goal of generating enough profit in his clinic to build an anthroposophic medicine retreat center here in the US. So his clinic right now is more of a stepping stone to the next big vision that he has. And the goal is to give people suffering with depression hope, and to potentially franchise this business model for other clinics to start open up doing the similar services Dr. Vinay does. And then the values are to empower the clients, empower his team, deliver really wow results for his patients, and do it in a way that it really comes across as heartfelt and caring to his clientele. So the way we make this happen is that we're looking at the financials, and so we bring in a CFO, Chief Financial Officer, who can help us get really clear on the numbers so that we no longer make decisions based on emotions, but make decisions based on numbers. I always say the numbers never lie. So we heavily driven by reality, facts, and numbers. The other thing the CFO does is he actually helps us figure out the trajectory, the net profit trajectory. So when I say, hey, we took this clinic from the brink of bankruptcy to 1.2 million net profit in 12 weeks, it's not me who calculates those numbers. It's not something that I made up. It's actually what came out of a meeting that we had with the CFO as we were looking to the trajectory based on the changes we made. We also look at eliminating the money leaks. So finding out where are we leaking the money and plug those holes so that the money is kept in the business. How can we increase the assets? So one thing that I see a lot of clinic owners do, they don't really realize that their clinic that I spend so much time building and nurturing and growing is actually an asset that can be sold. So we want to make sure that the business really becomes a turnkey practice and becomes an asset that if you decide in the future, you can turn around and sell it. Unfortunately, I've seen so many doctors walking away from their clinics thinking they can't sell it, that it's too personal of a business for them to be able to turn around and sell it. And that really breaks my heart, because you can make millions of dollars on your clinic if it's positioned right. And when I talk to business brokers, every single dollar that we add to your profit margin through this process means $10 if you turn around and sell it. So you can 10x the results we get in the transformation process of growing your profits. And that is really banking for your future. So we really want to look at that. And of course, we want to grow profits. That's the bottom line. And then we look at the delivery of your services. So how do we bring clients on board? How do we make sure that we manage people's expectations, set them up for success, make sure that they are happy working with us and they know what to expect from you and your team and the services that you provide? We create an empowered client journey. That's the journey that the client travels through from the moment that they say yes to take care in your clinic to the moment that you release them. What does that journey looks like? How do we map that out so that every single step of the way, you are really delivering those wow results that is part of the values. We also look at planning for random intelligence. So this is a cute little way that I have to say every single process, every single position in your clinic should be so turnkey and set up in such a way that anybody can walk into that position and know where to pick up and how to move the pieces forward. And that's what I mean by random intelligence. And so it just means that it's a turnkey practice. Then we look at the team, and I always have all the team members take the StrengthsFinder test. And it tells us what are their natural strengths. My biggest thing that when I'm working with team is to make sure that each team member is in a position to maximize and utilize their strengths so that they're not working to overcome their weaknesses or trying to do something that feels really unnatural to them, they're not very good at, or they struggle to accomplish. So we start off by the StrengthsFinder, and then we create deep and narrow job descriptions based on those strengths. So they are all in the right position, maximizing their efforts and the results for your business. Very many business owners come to me and say, how can I have a team that cares about my business as much as I do? Now that might seem like a fleeting or pie in the sky kind of goal, but the reality is if you really put your team members in the right position based on their strengths, they're going to show up motivated, they're going to get a lot more done in your business, and you can really maximize and empower your team doing it this way. We also look at how we can outsource certain jobs. I work a lot with an outsourced virtual assistants in the Philippines. There's lots of processes in a brick and mortar practice that can be outsourced to a team abroad. And I think this is a really underutilized resource for brick and mortar clinics here in the US. And it can really help you to save money on your payroll, which oftentimes when I step into these clinics is the highest, it's the biggest expense that they have. We also, once we have the financials, the delivery, and the team in place, we now can start expanding and adding more marketing, more clients into the mix, right? So we really step in and looking at your marketing. So we wanted to find your unique genius. So rather than marketing yourself as a medical doctor, physical therapist, chiropractor, functional medicine doctor, whatever it is, we want to make sure that you have a really unique message when you step out there that makes your ideal clients lean in, curious to learn more. We want you to stand out in the marketplace and not just disappear in the noise of all the other healthcare providers in your area. And so once we really define that, and that's based on your skill set, your licensing, your experience, and your passions, and your vision. So we look at all of those different areas and really define your unique genius that's unique to you. And then we start broadcasting that message out into the world so that people learn what it is that you do. Once we've done those two things, then we automate the whole marketing process so that the growing of your practice is no longer dependent on you. And the final piece that we look at is the key metrics. How do we reach the goals that we set out to reach? What are the key metrics that we need to pay attention to make sure that we reach those goals? So for Dr. Vinay's practice, we need 4 new clients per week, and we do 12 clarity calls per week. 12 clarity calls is potential clients that we talk to for about 10 to 15 minutes per week. And it's an opportunity for us to find out if they are a good fit for the practice. And if they are, then we invite them in for a consultation. So we screen people before we spend a whole hour with them in the clinic. And our goal is to sign up a third of those clarity calls and have them take care in the clinic every single week. And our goal is to have 1 franchise clinic open up per year. Once we finish with a deep dive assessment, we are ready to step into step 2, which is the transformation. So the first 12 weeks is to a deep dive assessment and a transformation. And the transformation is where we're making the biggest changes to really put the clinics on a trajectory to add a minimum of 6 figures of net profits to their bottom line. And in this situation with Dr. Vinay's practice, we added 1.2 million in net profits during that time. So during the transformation, it's a little bit like cleaning out your garage, right? You have all this stuff in there, and you have to pull it all out of the garage, and you find stuff that you didn't know you had. You find stuff that you've been looking for years. You find stuff you wish you didn't have, right? And then you're having to decide, what am I going to keep? What am I going to sell? What am I going to give away? And you look at all of these pieces, and you're making lots of changes, lots of moving pieces, lots of decision in rapid order. That's really what's happening during the transformation. Oftentimes we're making changes that other people take years to make in just 12 weeks. So we move fast and we make lots of decision in rapid order. One of the things we look at is the procedures and how streamlined your business is. And of course you have systems in place. Of course you have procedures in place. And systems and procedures is not very sexy. But oftentimes what I find that the procedures and systems that most clinics have in place are put in place because there was what I call a back-end hassle that happened. Meaning a client comes in upset because they receive a statement and I didn't know they had an outstanding bill. Or there is, we're not collecting enough at the front desk, so we're not collecting the co-payments at a time of service, and instead we are trying to chase after clients after the fact. Or we are billing insurance, but we're not collecting as much as you would like to, and we don't have time to do follow-up phone calls, so we're losing money. Or, clients come in and the referrals we made are not streamlined, and so they're not connecting with the providers that we're referring them to. All of those little problems or big problems that happens in a clinic is what I call a back-end hassle. This is something that happens because we didn't create a front-end system to handle that problem before it arises. And so what I really look at is how we can simplify these things. Most of the time when I come into a clinic, what I find is that your team has created procedure on top of procedure on top of procedure. So in the end, something that could take one step is taking 10 steps and is being handled on the back end instead of the front end. And so we simplify those things and really we slow down enough to really figure out where is the piece where this is becoming more complex than it needs to be. And when we simplify these things, one, it frees up more time for your team. It makes it more resourceful. And oftentimes, we can completely eliminate those back-end hassles that your team is up against day to day. One thing that's happening with the brick and mortar industry, specifically in healthcare, is the ever-increasing overhead. So as the years goes on, leases goes up, phone bills goes up, payroll goes up, electricity goes up. Meanwhile, the insurance reimbursement goes down. And if you're a full-on cash practice, you're now looking for a very specific clientele. And the equation is getting more complicated by the minute. And what I also find that most clinic owners do not know how to build their business without also increasing their overhead as they grow. So as they grow, even though they're bringing home more money, revenue-wise, it's not unusual for me to find that either they're making about the same amount of money as they were making early on, or even less because the overhead has gone up so much. And I actually saw this not that long ago in a chiropractic Facebook group where one of the most prominent business coaches was talking about that her clients that are making a couple of $100,000 or her clients making over $1 million a year, their profit margin is almost the same. Now, that's exactly what I step in and fix for my clients, because there's a different way of growing your business than simply just X number of patients to make X number of money, or growing your business and then you can't take care of it yourself, so you hire a bunch of people and just increase your overhead. There's a different equations that you need to look at. It's a different perspective. And so I go in and really make sure that you actually have a profitable business. And we decrease that overhead while we increase the revenue. You may have been dealing with a lackluster team, a team that's slightly unmotivated, don't show up on time, call in sick now and again, maybe makes big mistakes that are costly for you, do some things really, really well and do other things not so well, or drop off the map altogether. And so you have this, you kind of feel like you're limping along. Or maybe you have one team member that's just your star team member that manages and make sure that the other team is doing well. But if you lost that team member, you feel like your whole business will crumble. So we really look at, what's going on with your team and make sure that we have the team in the right places and everybody's doing what they need to do to move the business forward and stay intrinsically motivated. I don't believe that it's your job to motivate your team. That's something that comes from the inside. And so we really look at, one, putting them in the right position so they're utilizing their strengths, and also figuring out what is their intrinsic motivators and how can we upplay those so that they show up motivated, inspired, and ready to go and dedicated to their job. The other thing we do during the transformation in the early days is really looking at how can we free up a minimum of $5,000 in net profits right away. This will give you a little bit of a breather and not feel so pressured, right, through this process. Obviously, there's a cost for my services to working with you, so we want to make sure there's enough cash flow that you don't feel like you're back against the wall the whole time. And we also want to free up some money to maybe make some of the changes. So in the beginning, during the transformation, we're moving a lot of pieces, and sometimes we're moving some money around. So I want to make sure that it's not, you're not feeling that pure survival energy the whole way through it. We want to have some ease in making these changes. So we look at freeing up some profit right away for you. And after those first 12 weeks, this is when you really hit into the ROI zone. So most of the time, my clients have their biggest collections month, revenue month, and profit month right at the 12 weeks mark. And for Dr. Vinay, he absolutely had that. He had one of his biggest profit month right at 12 weeks that he have had the whole time in his business. He's been in business for 3 years. Huge profit month. And that's what we want to see, right? And so here's what we did specifically for Dr. Vinay's practice and what the transformation really looks like. So we hired a CFO, like I told you, to get all our accounting current and make decisions based on numbers rather than emotions, because numbers never lie. And so we brought somebody in to look at that. We also reconfigured the team. So we made sure that the right team member was in the right place and based on their strengths and how they can maximize their strengths to move the business forward. We'll eliminated practice management contract. So Dr. Vinay's clinic manager had made a decision to sign up the clinic for a really big practice management contract. With the changes we've made, one, the cost didn't make sense. It was over 12.5% that they took off the revenue of the clinic. And the services that offer did not make sense for the clinic once we started making the changes. So we actually were able to eliminate that contract and get a different contract for just doing the insurance billing for 6%. So that was a huge revenue stream, and that really helped increase the profits as well. We rented out unused office space. So there was a lot of rooms and space in the clinic, a beautiful clinic in south of Austin, that were unused. That was just sitting there. And so we, rather than having these money leaks as we were paying the lease amount for the space, we decided to rent them out and also get more traffic into the business and more energy into the business by having other providers sharing the space. We looked at the profit and loss statement once we have it back from the CFO, and we went through it with really looked at every single bill that they had and decided to eliminate any unnecessary bills. Anything that we weren't using, anything that didn't really make sense, we got rid of. Anything that we could rearrange in some way, we got rid of so that we could increase profit margin there. We ended up closing down the clinic side of the practice and went all in on a personalized TMS service. So this is very unique to Dr. Vinay's transformation, and every clinic is a little bit different. And again, it's based on the clinic owner's vision, right? The goals and their values when we create what's next. And so one thing that we noticed is with Dr. Vinay, when I first walked in there, is that he had a whole clinic side. He had 3 different providers working in the clinic, 2 medical assistants, 1 front desk assistant. He had a clinic manager, and he had an office manager, and he had an assistant for the personalized TMS services. So lots of team was working in the clinic. What we very quickly figured out was that the clinic side, because it required so many women and manpower to run it, and there was a huge amount of overhead as far as team and managing appointments and prescriptions and referrals and medical records and databases and all of these different pieces on the clinic side. The labs, we had a lab technicians in the clinic. What was actually happening was that the money that was brought in from the personal TMS service was used to cover the cost of running the clinical side. And yet the clinical side was actually tanking the business. There was so much of a money leak for the practice. So because Dr. Vinay's personal goal and vision was not necessarily to have the clinical side flourishing, that was not his passion, that was not his purpose of having this clinic, we could make the decision to close that down. Now, oftentimes, that might not be the decision that we make for every single provider. It really depends on what the provider is looking for and how you want your life and your clinic to look like going forward. But in this instant, that actually made a lot of sense. And then we, again, rented out all the space that we have in the clinic. So we turned those money leaks into actually profit streams. And we went all into the personalized TMS service, which is an amazing service that helps people with depression to recover within 30 to 40 days and get some real help in recalibrating their brain waves. So phenomenal service that have a huge impact, really changes people's lives, maybe even saves people's lives. And we were able, that within 12 weeks, that we had a $37K profit in 1 month, which was a really big profit for his clinic. Now, this is the CFO, Corey Whittaker, who's an amazing guy I worked with on several different projects from Evolved Finance. And he was so impressed with the work that we did on this clinic that he recorded this quick little video. You can find it on my Facebook page if you want to, on Madeline Silva, on my videos. And you can also find it on my website. But just a really great, cute, quick, just 1 minute video that really deep dives into what he notices as the CFO of kind of having an eyes, like a bird's eyes view of the changes and the transformation that happens in these clinics that I work on. So once we've done the transformation and the assessment and then the transformation, now we're ready for step 3, which is the integration. The first 12 weeks are gone. The biggest profit month have happened. Now we are fine-tuning. We're kind of ironing out the wrinkles. So lots of things changed during the first 12 weeks. We did massive changes. Now there might be little things that needs to be tweaked, fine-tuned, so that it all just runs really smoothly. So we're looking at seeing what's going to pop up and address it as it shows up, and continue to really simplify the business and really making it a turnkey practice. So that, again, planning for that random intelligence where it's really easy for the clinic to be run and it's not solely dependent on the clinic owner themselves to grow the business or keep it going or be the engine of that business, that the business itself has its own engine. So what does turnkey really mean? It means that when you have a team turnover, it doesn't slow you down or freak you out, right? When somebody leaves, it means that as the clinic owner, you are no longer solely responsible for the growth of your business. And as a matter of fact, growth feels really easy. Like when there's more growth, it's fun, it's easy, it doesn't feel like a chore, it doesn't feel like an extra amount of work. And it's also when a team member leaves, it doesn't mean that you have to step in and do their work in order to keep the business afloat. As the doctor, you can take vacations without things falling apart, losing money, or momentum in your business. Everyone knows what everyone else does, so it's really easy to move in and out of different job positions and helping each other out, but it's also really seamless. So that when a patient comes up from the back, the front knows what was said in the back and how they can continue to reinforce the procedures and streamline things so that the patient has an easy experience while they're in the clinic. Everybody has a very clear ownership of all the tasks that they are responsible for. So there's no tasks that are shared or no tasks that are, for later or when we have time. So oftentimes this might happen in your home as well, right? You might be sitting around and you said, hey, we really need to take out the garbage, or we really need to wash the windows. And usually those tasks, when communicating in that fashion, never gets done, right? That never gets done because it's the royal we. We really need to, and then the task, right? And when you don't have pure ownership and there's nobody who owns those chores or the task in your clinic, oftentimes it gets left undone. Or even if they share task, oftentimes the person don't know what was done and what wasn't done, or what the other person is planning on doing and not doing. And so it doesn't get done. So you want to have really clear ownership of every single task in your business. We have checks and balances in place. So you may have had the experience in your clinic where somebody leaves and all of a sudden you're noticing that I made all these mistakes, costly mistakes, and you lost $10,000s of dollars, and you're mad at this team member because, they mismanaged their job so much and it cost you so much money. So we never want you to have that experience again where kind of the carpet is pulled underneath your feet. Instead, we want to have really simple checks and balances in place that you can know in a moment's notice on a daily basis or weekly basis. Are we on track? Is things working? Is my team doing what they're supposed to be doing without having to micromanage people, right? Without having to be in there doing it yourself, but some really simple checks and balances. And I really want you to learn how to manage your practice by the numbers, not your emotions. Again, the numbers never lie, and it's so easy to have a good day or a bad day, slow day or a busy day, and then based on that, you're making decisions as opposed to what's actually happening in your business. And when you're making decisions based on your emotions, oftentimes you are going to be your cash flow is going to be following that roller coaster, just like emotions, and it's going to be up and down, feast and famine. If you can really build a business on reality, on numbers, and being strategic about it, you have an opportunity to really everything that you build your business on becomes a stepping stone for the next step, the next step, the next step. And so you create phenomenal momentum without working very hard doing it that way. So we want to look at how do you do that for your business. So what we did for Dr. Vinay in his integration is that we created a client onboarding procedures. So what is it from the moment a client starts or says, yes, I want to take care of your clinic, what happens to set up the expectations for them, letting them know how to get the most out of their care, understanding our policies and procedures without shaming them or blaming them, which oftentimes happens if you don't tell them up front. Then later, when they do something wrong or something that you don't want them to do, you now having to kind of scold them to tell them what else to do. Even if you do it in a really nice way, it still comes across to the client like, oh my God, I didn't know that. Now I'm getting in trouble for it. So how do you set up those expectations in the beginning, which feels so much more caring to the client? As a matter of fact, when you can address the client's needs and concerns before they arise during that client onboarding process, it builds so much trust in your process, and I know exactly what to expect from you and your team and the care that you provide. So very important. We also looked at mapping out the empowered client journey. So again, the empowered client journey is the journey that happens once a client is inside your business. From the moment they say yes to the moment that you release them from care. What happens during that time? How do you really make sure that they have the best possible experience, the most amount of support possible? One, to capitalize on referrals, client success stories, and also from their experience. So we really look at that, what that looks like. We created some specific closing procedures. So again, creating those checks and balances and keeping your team accountable to those metrics that we're looking for and the checks and balances so that you have an easy way of knowing exactly what goes on in your business. And usually this is done by some simple procedures along the way. And you might already have closing procedures, but we are really looking from, we're kind of looking at that string right from the beginning of the vision, the goals, and the values, and how do we pull that through all the procedures and stepping stones in your business all the way to the end, right? And we look at how everything is aligned with those things that matters most. Obviously, billing procedures. How do we get paid from insurance company if we're billing insurance? How do we get paid from patients if you're billing patients? How do we provide payment plans if we are for patients? How do we make sure that we collect co-pays at the date of service, deductibles, all these little things that happens? How do we make sure that the revenue stream is steady and flow and we're not chasing after people or insurance companies trying to get paid for our services? And what is our pricing? What is our packaging? What does all of those things look like? So we got very specific and created some really clear procedures for Dr. Vinay and his team to follow. We defined the key metrics to track for the business to make sure that it's on, that we know that we are moving in the right directions and the business is reaching the goals and intentions that we have set. We integrated weekly team meetings. I think a lot of times business owners use team meetings as a way of complaining or, trying to figure things out. That's not really what a team meeting is for. Usually a team meeting is 10 to 15 minutes, checking in, going over the new clients coming in, making sure everybody's on the same page, handling anything that maybe somebody needs training or needs support with something, then we book that for another time. So team meetings is more about inspiration, motivation, and staying on the same page and staying on the bus, moving all in the right direction. And then we look at flipping the freedom switch on team schedules. So again, really taking the team through a process that I have that helps the team figuring out where are they spending their time, where are they wasting time, how are they not getting to the most important stuff, what are they doing instead, and simplifying their schedules and helping them block off time for all the different tasks that needs to get done in a strategic way. So that makes them more efficient and more aware, and usually they get way more done with their time. The next step is the expansion. Now, we have done the deep dive assessment, figure out what needs to change. We went through the transformation where we made those changes. We did the integration where we streamlined things, wrinkled out the, iron out the wrinkles along the way and tweaked things to make it even more efficient. And now we're ready to add more stuff in, right? To fill the bucket again. The bucket has now been emptied out with all the stuff that was, the gravel, the geek. It's kind of like, if you ride a motorcycle or just a regular bicycle, maybe, how the engine kind of or the chain kind of get gunky up with gunk, right? And it slows the process down. So we cleaned all of that out. Now we can actually move faster, and we have an opportunity to grow. So we look at the expansion. And so the number one thing that we're really looking to do is to make sure that you're not stuck marketing in exactly the same way as every other clinic out there, right? So if you're a dentist, you're not, how do you really position yourself separate and different than other dentists out there to really make sure that your clientele knows why they should choose you over a different dentist down the street. So we look at that. Now, if you just market your business in exactly the same way as everybody else, you tend to just get stuck in a traffic jam, and it's really hard to actually gain traction for your business. And instead, we want you to get traveling in your own lane, where you are the one setting the tone and doing something quite unique that sets you apart from everybody else. And you can move much faster. You're going to gain traction much faster. And your clientele is going to start flocking to your clinic. Next, we want to start sharing that message with more people. And so we want to pick the broadcasting channel. The broadcasting channel is just the channel that you utilize to share what it is that you do with the audience or the people that you can help the most. And there's tons of different ways of doing this. And I like to pick, again, the broadcasting channel that is the best natural fit for your natural strengths and how you want to market your business. And once we have picked the marketing channel, now we are ready to automate the whole process so that the growth of your clinic is not depending on you working harder or doing more, but it's actually something that happens naturally. And as your business grows, it doesn't mean that you have to work more hours. It means that your team can handle the increase of growth, and you can actually end up even working less. So I know these equations might not make sense right now, but this is what happens when we work with clinics. So Dr. Vinay's expansion was that we wanted 80 new clients per month, and that's what we needed to sign up to hit the 1.2 million net profit mark. Okay, and so the way we did it is that we did some Facebook ads. We created what I call a client attraction website. So I have a website template that's just 5 pages, but it has incredibly strategic information in each one of the pages, and it's set up to not, so that when people land on that website, they take the next step and really become a prospect and then a potential new client. And so everything is very strategically put every place on the website. We also started to create a blog post so we can optimize the search engine optimization for the clinic and start educating our audience on the amazing results that we get for the personalized TMS services in the clinic. And then we maximize that with social media posts and utilize the social media as a strategy of letting people know what we do. And we also had a lead magnet. A lead magnet is a free gift that your prospective clients give up their email addresses, and then they can download the lead magnet. What's really great about this is that now you have the email and you can actually stay in contact with them and communicate with them and support them. Now, the marketing strategy that we do for different clinics looks completely different. Again, this is based on the vision, the goals, and what it is that the clinic owner really want to see long term. So, and also what their natural strengths are and how we're going to automate it. So this is what made sense for this clinic. It will look different for different clinics. So the number one is the goal. Then how do we attract the people? And the next one, how do we nurture them? So once we got their email addresses, or once we're in touch with them on our social media or on our website, how do we continue to build that relationship? In today's world, they say that 80% of sales are done between 7 to 12 touches. That means that you have at least 7 to 12 interaction with these potential new clients in order for them to say yes and buy your services. So how do you really continue to build those touches with your potential clients in a way that they are ready eventually to say yes? So that's what the nurture sequence is really about. How do you continue to nurture those relationships? So we use blog and email sequences to do that. And then how do you convert them to paying clients? And so we have a monthly talk, and we also utilize the clarity calls. Okay, clarity calls again is like a 10-15 minute phone conversation with potential clients that are interested, where we really just check in with them and see if they're a good fit. And if they are, we invite them into the clinic for a full consultation. And the monthly talks is something that Dr. Vinay do once a month. He has an hour talk in his clinic, an introductory talk to personalized TMS and what it does, and he shares some client success stories, and we also sign up people right then and there for the consultations. So this is kind of the process of the expansion project that we put in place. Now, I wanted to just kind of share you the big client success map and in one page so you kind of can see the 5 steps that we walk a client through. So these are the 5 steps to flip the freedom switch on your healthcare practice that I take my clients through. And so the first 12 weeks are done for you. I literally step into somebody's clinic and I work as the COO, the Chief Operations Officer in your clinic, and help you to leverage your team to make the changes and rapidly and really see the results very fast. So this is really a done for you service. So this is not a business coaching. It's not me telling you, oh, this is what you need to do to grow your business, and then you having to go out and do it. I literally step in and do this with you and your team. The very first one is the assessment, like we talked about, the VIP days, really figuring out what needs to change. And then the step 2 is a transformation, how we make those changes happen, right? And step 1 and 2 is all about creating the momentum for the transformation, right? Eliminate money leaks, expand profit centers, and optimize your team. The first 12 weeks, and then you hit the ROI zone. That's where you should have the biggest profit month you had in a very long time, and maybe the biggest profit month you ever had in your business. Next, we step into the integration, expansion, and release. So let's talk first about integration and expansion, step 3 and 4. This is where we integrate, iron out the wrinkles, and the expansion is how we start marketing your services in a bigger way, in a more targeted way. So that's usually done over a 6-month period, and it's done with you. So this is more about integrating the changes and making sure they're all coming out right on the back end so you can walk away with a turnkey practice, right? So we have simplicity in your workflow. We erase time wasters, ways that your team or you are wasting time, and we automate your marketing during this time. The fifth step is that it's the release. And this is really where you step into freedom. This is when you have a minimum of 6-figure profit margin. You have vacation freedom. You can take time away without wasting, without having to put out fires from afar, without having to waste money or lose momentum in your business. And you have a dream team that really got your back and can run your business without you. So your business growth and the business success is not solely dependent on you, the owner. So this is what it looks like. And we also have a guarantee. So we guarantee that we put you on a trajectory to add a minimum of 6 figures in net profits in 12 weeks. And this is for holistic healthcare practices. And most of the time, we do this without spending a dime on marketing or advertising. Yes, we do spend some money on advertising and marketing during step 4, expansion, but you'll be put on a trajectory in the ROI zone. You already see the 6 figures in net profits in 12 weeks. Now, you want to grow more? That's when the expansion process comes in. Okay? So who is this really for? So it really is for holistic and integrative doctors. Oftentimes what motivates people to come and seek me out is a couple of different things, different scenarios. They find themselves in different places in their business. One, they might be struggling to make ends meet. So even though they have a very, very healthy, as far as revenue stream, like the money is coming in, but it's going out as fast as it's coming in. And so it's even hard to juggle money and make sure that you're paying the bills on time. And you still feel, even though you're making multiple 6 figures a year, you still feel like you have your back against the wall and a little bit in survival energy month to month, trying to figure out how to make ends meet and pay the bills. Or you want to really turn your practice into an asset that you can sell. Maybe now, maybe later. But you want this to be, you want your sweat and tears that you put into your business, all that energy and effort that you did in building that practice, to be able to come back to that and have a phenomenal asset that you can sell for millions or more, right? Or maybe you find yourself buried in the day-to-day, meaning that in order for your business to grow, it requires you to work more hours. And you don't really know how to grow your business without following that same tired equation of adding one more client to make X dollar amount, or X number of clients to make X dollar amount. But at the same time, because you already maxed out and underpaid, you have no idea how in the world you can manage growth because you're already working so much. So if you find yourself stuck in this equation, this catch-22 of wanting to grow, needing to grow to make more money, to be more profitable, but at the same time feeling stuck because you don't know how, because you're just working so much already and you have so much on your plate already, and maybe you even noticing that you're dropping stuff, right? Things are falling, the balls are falling and you're not able to catch them on time and you just don't know how to keep going like that. That's a really good time to have me step in and help you. Or if you want to franchise, open up additional practice location. In order to do that, you need to have a turnkey business that's really easy to run and that has all the workflow and the processes in place to really make it a turnkey business. So we look at those things. Now, it's also for those, so there's a couple of other benchmarks that I really look at, criteria that's really important. One, I want your revenue to be a minimum of $250K up to $2 million a year. Now, $250K is still on the low end. $400 to $500K is better starting point, tell you the truth. So you want to kind of have a fairly robust business already, and at least 3 full-time employees. I will leverage your team to make a lot of the changes that we're making during the transformation phase. And they need to be all on board and supported. So I want you to have a little bit of team. So it's not just up to you to make these changes, but you have some team members that we can leverage. And you already need to get phenomenal results for your clients. You have to provide a really big service that that really makes a difference in people's lives and health. And you own a brick and mortar practice. So I don't work with online businesses. Yes, I do help businesses create online structures, and in my lower end year-long mastermind for startups and solopreneurs, we do absolutely support clinics in building online platforms and memberships and academies online and e-courses and all of that. Absolutely. And we do a lot of online marketing. But as far as my VIP services, I'm really looking for those brick and mortar practice owners that are feeling squeezed between the increase in overhead and the decrease in insurance reimbursements or cash flow, and wanting to switch that equation where their overhead is lower and their profit margin is much higher. And you're tired of going at it alone, right? So maybe you've tried doing this on your own for a long, long time, and you're stressed out to the max, and you're getting fed up of being the only person who is running your business. And you're willing to make changes to get really big results, right? So you're open to making changes, and you're ready to see what can happen as a result. You're friendly and coachable, right? So obviously taking on a big client like this is a huge time investment for me. Like I said, I literally step into somebody's practice and help them make these changes with their team and themselves, and really operate as the chief operation officer in their business. And so it's really important that we have fun doing it. Yeah, there might be some stressful times along the way, but for the most part, I want us to have a friendly conversation, that you're coachable and open to suggestion and willing to make changes to see the results that you're after. And you need to be 100% committed to no excuses. So, I always say there's always a way to make what it is that you want to see happen in your business. But, in order to get different results, we need to be able to do different things, right? Otherwise, it's really hard to see different things, different results in the end. And, one thing that I cannot work with is people who are filled with excuses of why something can't happen. So it's really important that you have 100% commitment to not making excuses, but really instead being 100% committed to finding a way to see what it is that you want to see. So if this is you and you're interested in finding out more, and if I can help you, then by all means set up a pre-diagnostic session with me where we can take a look at your practice and seeing if this is a fit for you, and if there's something I can do to support you in growing your profits 6 figures or more, put you on a trajectory to add at least 6 figures or more of net profits into your business in the next 12 weeks. So if this is something that's curious to you, you're interested in finding out more about, then please press the button below, fill out the application to book a pre-diagnostic session. Once we have your information and the request to apply, we will get back to you and let you know if you got picked for one of the sessions. I look forward to talking to you, and thank you so much.